Welcome back to Good Morning La Land, helping us live our best lives. The best-selling author, #Genius Foods, Max Lugavere is in the house. Thank you for being with us
Thanks
today.
for having me. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Your work has been incredibly life-changing for millions of people. I would love to know, though, if you'd share with us about your personal journey and why you became so enthused and made it your mission to share Genius Foods with everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I had a job in journalism. I enjoyed, hearing you guys talk about your experience in LA, working in the field, because I did something kind of similar when I graduated college. I worked for a TV network that Al Gore co-founded called Current TV.
Nice.
And I was one of the main sort of anchors of the network, and my job there was very much as like a generalist. I got to cover everything from pop culture to technology to health. And then when I left that job and I was trying to figure out where I was going to take my career, in my personal life, I noticed that my mom had started to show the very first symptoms of what would ultimately be revealed as a form of dementia. And it was traumatic for me to see my mom succumb to that. I mean, she was very young at the time. She was about 58. And it really sent me down the rabbit hole, using the skills that I had honed as a journalist to investigate why this would have happened to her, if there was anything that I could potentially do in terms of diet and lifestyle to help her, and also how I might prevent that from happening to myself, since I now had this risk factor, right? Like my mom had dementia. So it really became my life's mission to try to understand why this happened to her, why her health was so tragic. And that led to a number of different projects. I have a podcast where I interview experts. It's called The Genius Life. I wrote Genius Foods, which is a New York Times bestseller. I'm super grateful that it has reached people, because I really kind of poured everything that I had into it when I was writing it. And yeah, it's just, I look around and I travel a lot and I read, research papers, and I see, like, statistically, people are not well in this country, and there's a lot of misinformation coming from even our most respected and trusted institutions.
Yes.
And so for me, I just want to be a catalyst for truth and try to help people understand how it is that they can better, I don't know, attain health for themselves and for their loved ones, because life is fleeting. And time is all we have.
So how can we do that? What have been some of the myths you discovered that you're now sharing the truth around?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, for the past couple of decades, certainly we've been raised with this notion of the USDA food pyramid, that we've got to base our diet around grains. Like, grains are somehow required for human flourishing, and they're not. We've only had grains in their most presently, represented form for the last, 10,000 years, which is a blip on the radar in terms of how long we've actually been on this planet. And then over the past 100 years, there's been the agricultural and industrial revolutions that have taken these grains, pulverized them, and turned them into packaged processed foods, which now make up 60% of the calories that we consume every single day.
Graham crackers and Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Graham crackers, Pop-Tarts, breakfast cereals, pastas, pizzas, everything. And we're basing our diets around these foods. And these foods, essentially what they do is they make it very easy to consume too much of. So that's one of the reasons why you look around and people are struggling with their weight. I mean, 2/3 of adults in this country are now either overweight or obese. And I mean, that just causes damage to every organ in the body.
But so many people don't really realize, beyond the weight they might carry, and they might not feel like they look their best, that it's affecting them mentally.
Yeah.
How does it affect them mentally? What are some signs and some symptoms?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a great question. Inflammation is something that, if your knee is inflamed, you feel it as pain, right? If you have inflammation in your brain, you don't feel it as a headache necessarily. You might feel it as anxiety or depression. And so my job really has been to talk about what we currently understand to be the impact that inflammation and things like that have on brain function. And we're just at the very tip of the iceberg in terms of understanding the full breadth of how our diets and our lifestyles affect how we feel. But I mean, the most obvious way that you can really get a sense of how your actions affect the way that you feel is just to go and have a good workout. I feel like a different person when I'm leaving the gym than I do when I walked in, right? Like, I could be anxious, I could be depressed, I could be feeling down on myself, and I have a good workout. I will myself into the gym, sometimes even against my own,
Everything.
everything, right? But I force myself to go to the gym, and it's like the most powerful antidepressant that I know of. you know? And the best thing about exercise is that there are no downsides, right? It makes you look better naked. Right?
Well, there's that.
There's that. And,
Feel better naked.
yeah, feel better naked, and it makes and it clears out those mental cobwebs. And the same thing that exercise does for us in the acute setting, having a healthy diet and adopting a healthy dietary pattern can do over the long term as well.
How do people that, I mean, because there's, like you just said, there's so many Americans that are so way off, and how do you teach them to just start? Like, what are some basic tips that you would say to somebody who's really never ever done anything healthy in their life?
Well, I think it is. I think at the end of the day, knowledge is power. And
Right,
I think it's still underappreciated the degree to which diet can affect our health and the way we feel. I think people probably think about eating healthy as like this abstract, you know, as a means to a long-term goal exclusively, but it's not. I mean, I think people don't really understand or at least appreciate that our ability to connect with our loved ones and feel good about ourselves and to achieve and accomplish the things, even over a 24-hour period that we want to achieve, rely on us giving our bodies the nutrients that they need.
I think some of the problem, though, too, is that they don't even realize they're eating unhealthy.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
you know, there's the banana diet. Well, I'm eating healthy because I'm eating only bananas.
Right.
I mean, but they really believe that it's healthy.
Well, because most people, you know, they buy these packaged processed foods in the aisles of our supermarkets that make these health claims.
Right.
And the reality is that the healthiest foods in the supermarket don't make any health claims.
Right.
Because to make a health claim, you have to have a packaging, right?
There's no label on an apple.
Exactly.
There's no label on an apple. You're right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I almost kind of feel like there should be, like, you know, health claims made for avocados.
Benefits.
Yeah, benefits, because I mean, an avocado,
True,
a piece of
true.
wild salmon, grass-fed beef, eggs, pasture-raised eggs. You know, I mean, these are the foods that I think are the best for us. And yet, what we're inundated with are these health claims made by cereals and grain products and things that we totally don't need.
So now that you've kind of mastered this for yourself with Genius Foods,
Yeah.
what are some of the fun projects you're working on?
Well, you know, I really enjoy having my podcast because, like you guys, it gives me a platform to get to talk to people and nerd out about topics that I'm obsessed with, you know. So I talk a lot about health, nutrition, exercise, what it means to live a genius life in 2019. Lately, I've become really interested in everyday chemicals, industrial chemicals that we're exposed to and how those might be affecting our health. So everything from plastic-related compounds to parabens, which are found in our cosmetics and also in our foods. So, you know, it's just this big question mark that's always going to be looming over my head as to why this happened to my mom. And you know, it's made me kind of see the world in a new way. So these are the kinds of the questions that I am persistently asking myself.
You know, it's really interesting. I had heavy metal poisoning. For 8 years, I was doing chelation therapy. I was trying to figure out what the problem was, and then it took me about a year of detoxing. But so when you talk about the heavy metals and the chemicals, it's as easy as getting just tested. But our regular doctors don't test us for that. But they're saying there's a lot of things that are attached to the issues that come along with that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe all the heavy metals I had in my blood system. We all have them, right? Because that's what you're researching now.
We do, yeah.
We are
I mean,
walking around toxic beings.
Yeah, heavy
Yeah,
metals. Heavy
and you'd
metals,
never
like
know till you
lead,
see.
arsenic, mercury. I mean,
All of it.
the thing where it gets kind of confusing is that our bodies have natural abilities to detox.
That's true.
Right. So,
Right.
I mean, take aluminum for example. There's no biological purpose that aluminum serves in our bodies. Yet aluminum
Right.
is one of the most abundant metals on Earth. So our bodies had to have evolved a means of excreting aluminum that we accumulate. The problem is today that we're just inundated. with so many different.
The livers can't keep up.
Exactly.
You know? I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the balance has been tipped. And
Where can I move so that I don't have to deal with any of these issues?
Alaska.
Do I have to leave the planet?
It's, you know, hopefully not.
On an ice glacier in Alaska.
Hopefully not. I like Earth, you know.
Well, thank you, Max, so much for all of the light and wisdom that you're sharing with the entire world. Tell everyone, of course, if they haven't got your book yet, where they can get the book and follow your journey.
Yeah, so Genius Foods is available everywhere books are sold, and I host a podcast. It's called The Genius Life, and I'm also pretty prolific on Instagram, so come follow me over there
Nice.
at Max Lugavere. Yeah.
So
He's pretty
appreciate it.
prolific.
Yeah.
Stay
Thanks,
tuned.
guys.
We'll be back with more. Good morning, La La Land.